They beat us, they put us on the phone, we was crying, screaming on the phone, and they told my family, if you don't pay for him, we will kill him, we may use him for a lot of things, we may use him for, we will take his kidney or things like this. When my family didn't pay, they used us to sex with other people. Yeah, with other people they came, had sex with us, and I think they paid for that.
Peter was 15 when traffickers in Greece held him and sold him for sex with men. He was being moved from the Middle East to the UK. His family didn't pay what the traffickers demanded.
It was really bad, I thought. I don't know how I describe it. It was very, very hard. I thought, I want to die to not do that, but I've been forced to do.
What happened to Peter is truly shocking. He eventually arrived here in the UK in the back of a lorry, and we're told he would have been sexually exploited here too had he not been found by immigration officers. His case is not unusual. This report details trafficking victims in the UK last year. In one case, a woman is trafficked from Vietnam and forced to work as a prostitute, the traffickers threatening to kill her father. In another case, a man travels from Poland and is forced to work every day of the week for just 13 euros in all. He was locked up and beaten if he tried to escape. It's a catalogue of exploitation in the 21st century.
I used to work for 15 hours, and we just got the two-time break for only for the washroom, and we're not allowed to speak to our colleagues, and not allowed to speak even with customers.
Sarah came to the UK from Asia to study, but says she was forced to work every day in a cafe on low wages, facing constant threats from her manager.
She told me, if I go against with her, so she will be inform the immigration people, so would be sent to the Asia. And the second fear is she could contact my parents and she would tell my parents I'm doing something wrong, against my family names or like that. Having affair with so many boys or like that, so many things, wrong things, which is very totally against to the Asian culture. It's really enough to kill someone.
Sarah was trapped for almost 2 years before being spotted and rescued. UK charities help those who've been trafficked. More than 3,200 potential victims were identified in the UK last year, a 40% rise on the previous 12 months. Sadia Wayne works for one of the charities. She says trafficking victims are terrified to seek help, often paying off a never-ending debt.
The debt bondage being the fact that they've been brought over here and we paid for your ticket, and if you don't pay, you have to pay us back. And that debt doesn't seem to decrease, it seems to just increase. And if they refuse to work in any way or form, whether it's sexual exploitation or whether it's domestic servitude or whether it's forced labour, then they're threatened with their families back home. So because of that, they continue to do what they're doing.
Good afternoon. Have I got some bargains for you today? On special offer, we have human beings. Now, you might ask, what can I do with a human being? Well, there's plenty that they can be used for. So let's see what we got here.
The Salvation Army takes to the streets of London to boost awareness, with actors taking part in a mock slave sale.
Admittedly, Elizabeth here, she's probably on her way out.
Police say real victims can be bought and sold for up to 13,000 euros each, in what is an organised and lucrative crime.
You don't need to pay very much for her. I'm giving her today for a tenner. A tenner for this lovely lady.
Earlier this year, police launched a week-long operation targeting trafficking and exploitation across the UK. More than 100 potential victims were identified and at least 25 arrests were made. But it's a drop in the ocean, with some campaigners estimating up to 80,000 victims in Britain. And the UK Human Trafficking Centre, which coordinates law enforcement, admits exploitation could be fuelled further by Europe's migrant crisis.
I think the large numbers that are marching across Europe certainly cause a risk to the UK. Some of those individuals are determined to get into the UK, and their circumstances when they arrive may mean that they're desperate in terms of trying to find legitimate employment or any form of employment, and so they're very likely to be vulnerable to forms of exploitation. This is a hidden crime, and it's often backed up with different cultural issues which are very difficult for police to respond to. We can only respond if we see things and we get cases to investigate.
Trafficking victims in the UK come from all over the world. Albania, Nigeria, Eritrea and Afghanistan among the source countries. But countries inside the EU, such as Hungary, Lithuania, Poland and Romania, also rank highly. In February, the owner of a bed-making business in England was jailed after using a slave workforce of Hungarian men. They were paid as little as €13 a week and housed in cramped and dirty accommodation. It's not only adults who are trafficked, it's children too. Data published by the European Commission earlier this year identified the recruitment of children by traffickers as a sharply increasing trend. This amid fears about the fate of thousands of unaccompanied minors who've apparently disappeared during the current migration crisis.
Unaccompanied children from far-flung places do arrive in the UK. They go into the care system when they're discovered, and they disappear. It's clear, I think, that many of them are under control of traffickers, maybe because there's a threat against their family. It may be for other reasons. I've often said that children and trafficked people have a link to their traffickers after a while that is difficult to break. All response to crime in this country is focused on reported crime and emerging threats. We haven't got a good picture of trafficking yet, or a good enough picture of trafficking yet in this country, and there's more to do to make that picture stronger.
The British government says it's committed to tackling the problem. It's brought in legislation for identifying and supporting victims and holding those exploiting them to account.
I really came far from that, but still when I sit alone, when I remember the old things, I don't need to listen that old, torturing words or all like that. No need to worry about to go washroom more than 2 times. And I'm totally looking after myself.
It's affected my life really, really bad. Until now, I can't sleep at night time. I go a dream and I'm scared, and every night when I'm sleeping, I have to make sure all the doors close and I have to check it 3 times. And I don't trust any people.